Hey you guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is a little bit spicy. I'm sort of spilling the tea today on a little bit of a haunted house situation that I have currently experienced in a house that I've rented, but it's very different, and I step by step go through this makeup look and this hair. So if you guys want to see how I got this look, listen to a little bit of a story time on my haunted house, please keep watching. Where to start? I'm going to start with my brows. So using the Smashbox Brow Tech matte pencil in the color dark brown, I'm going to just start by filling these brows in. So I guess I might start from the very beginning of us living in this house. About a year and a half ago, my husband and I used to live in Sydney, and we got moved up to Queensland for my job. If you guys have followed me for a while, or if you watched my recent Q&A, you would know I've sort of lived between Queensland and New South Wales for a really long time. So moving around wasn't a big deal, but we'd always sort of lived in really bougie new houses just because that's just how things worked out, was that we just always tended to go into new houses. So when we were coming back to Queensland, we had very little time. And by very little time, I mean seriously little time. I had weeks, not months. So we had to apply for a house sight unseen because that's just how things worked. And we were quite fine with that as long as the house had a fully fenced yard for our dogs, was basically big enough for the two of us. So we were just kind of happy. Very hard to talk and concentrate. By the way, if you haven't used the Smashbox brow pencils, definitely don't sleep on them. They are awesome. So just with the darker concealer, I'm actually using the Maybelline Age Instant Rewind, and this is in the color 130 medium, just a flat brush. I'm just going to carve out the top of the brow, and the reason I'm using a darker concealer is because it's going to be close to my foundation color, so I won't have to get near my brows when I'm doing my face. A technique that I've recently learned, and let me tell you guys, when this makes your brows snatched, they are snatched. So we got the house and it was older. We knew that it was going to be older because they did a FaceTime with me and showed me through the house. The bathroom was a bit dingy. It was a bit, but didn't mind too much because we just wanted to be back in Queensland. We had very little time. We only took a 6-month lease just in case something happened. And then when we got to Queensland, it was quite an ordeal. The real estate seemed fine. They were kind of happy that we'd leased the house. Like, there was no real indication of anything, right? So we were just sort of like, oh yeah, great. So we got the keys for the house, came to the house, and as we drove in, it was this instant like eerie feeling. The feeling was crazy. It was very, very energetic. Just going in with a lighter concealer now, I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape in the color light beige, and I'm going to cut out the bottom of the brow. So yeah, pulled in, saw the house. It was very energetic. It was very, very old to what I was used to, I suppose. It was very confronting to me the most, I think, because literally the last 5 years I had lived in brand spanking new houses. It was probably a bit of a shock to the system. I am just pulling that concealer down, you guys, because it kind of acts as a prime for the eyeshadow as well, and just meeting that darker concealer in the middle. When we walked into the house, the very first thing that we saw was smack bang when you first walk in is the lounge room, and as you walk into the lounge room, very open area, house had no furniture, was just a massive jerry can, and I will post a photo of holy water, and it was actually Zamzam water, which is apparently, since I've looked into it, one of the holiest of waters. So it's not even like just classic water poured into a jerry can as holy water. It was Zamzam water. So we were kind of like, odd. This is a very old house. It has Zamzam water, whatever. This is whatever. I probably was very close to having a heart attack. I told you guys, these brows are not to be snoozed on. Just going in with the e.l.f. Sunkissed booster drops just as a primer. A holy water smack bang in the lounge room, which was somewhat confronting. As we walked through the house, there was rosary beads and scales were left in the house. So that was kind of odd. The house wasn't wasn't dirty, but it is an old house, so it definitely had like dust, and it smelled like an old church. As we walk downstairs to the house, there's like a downstairs teenage retreat, which is like fully lockable, but it's absolutely not a room. Just topping that with the putty primer. Skin preparation is everything, you guys. That's kind of like a dungeon down there. Anyway, we walk through down to the laundry, which is beyond that retreat, and it has holes in the bricks. So it's like one of those really old houses where, I guess just for patterning reasons or whatever it is, there are bricks that are taken out. It's not like a full brick structure. So I'm just going in with one pump of my lighter foundation and a pump of my darker foundation. Then we walked into the garage, which was at the time very, very dingy. It had a window with glass missing on it. The back was padlocked. I actually should take you guys back to the front door as well. The front door wasn't actually a locked front door. It was a padlocked front door. It was literally the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. It had a gate over it. It has a gate rather than the front door having a lock. Apparently, the house hadn't had a key to the front door for like years and years and years. So that was confronting. I was like, no, I'm not going to sleep in a house that doesn't lock in the front door. So the back had like a door that was padlocked. It was very odd. We moved in. I'm just using the 35S Sweet Oasis palette from Morphe. We didn't start getting any kind of weird feelings or anything for a few months of living here. So when we first moved in, I suppose the very, very first thing that we noticed was that we would get drunk really, really fast. So we would get really, really drunk. So if you would have like a glass of wine, you would literally feel the effects of having a bottle. It was really, really intense. I thought it was potentially just stress. You know, this is the kind of things that happen when you move into state, but everyone who came to our house would say the same thing. They'd be like, we would get really, really drunk at your house. I'm like, is somebody spiking people at my house? This is so weird. And then things started to happen probably a month or two in, where we would feel these presence. I wasn't sleeping well, obviously. I had a new job. There was sort of stressful things in the background, but we had really strange things happening at the same time. So it was kind of easy to excuse and sort of easy to sort of go, oh, this is just that. But then when you really listened, you were kind of like, maybe this isn't just stress. So both my husband and I started seeing shadows and figures. I would see two men and they would always be in my bathroom. They'd be standing in my bathroom door. I would have these absolute heart attacks. Oh my God, these men are in the house. I'd wake my husband. It would be so intense. And you could see this person just like standing there. It was really crazy. COVID hit. So then we had a lockdown. We were in the house all the time. So it was really intense. My husband had built a home gym downstairs. So he was spending a lot of time in the garage. And while he was sort of down in the garage, he said that he started to feel like he was going crazy and there was people down there. And I would say the same thing. Like as I would go down there, it would just be this really wild feeling. Like it was just so intense that somebody was there. He would often like sit up in the mirror and there'd be like somebody behind him. He'd freak out, or he'd like come up and be like, what were you doing down there? I saw you walk past me and I'd been upstairs the whole time. Things like that was happening all the time. And we sort of both didn't think too much of it, but it was becoming too frequent that we couldn't exactly ignore it either. My mum is an incredible hippie and she knows a ton of like mediums and all about that sort of spiritual stuff. And to me, it's always been just like kind of a crock. I've never believed it. I've always thought it was just whatever. Let me tell you right now, I am 100% a convert, I believe. So we had a medium. I just sort of reached out and was like, hey, I'm feeling kind of weird in this house. Things are kind of happening, and had her check the house out. She confirmed there was tons and tons of energy in the house and there was a lot of things that had happened here. She started to explain a lot of things to us. The only problem with this was had really spiked the energies and stuff that we were feeling, the things that we were seeing. The doors were starting to sort of have weird things happen. We put a lock on some doors. We had the keys with us. The doors then miraculously were opened. We had the keys. We were kind of like, this has not been moved by a human. It was just things like that would happen all the time. Doors were getting locked, unlocked, opened. It was strange. So it made it even worse. The energies just shifted. She confirmed that there was a few groups in the house that had lived here before and had performed a few different rituals that weren't exactly lovely. She sort of pointed out a spot in our house where there was a pentagram painted on the ground at one point, which the concrete is really disheveled now, and it's just like ripped up. It's just really crappy. So we can't see that actually there. But what had happened beyond this was it would start to rain, and all of a sudden the garage would start to flood of water, and we'd be like, this is odd, like water hasn't come into the garage at all. But then all of a sudden where the pentagram was, where they had said it had been painted, was exactly where the water would pool. So the water would literally pool in that area. Like, it was very intense. I was cooking dinner one night and my husband was in our bedroom, so opposite ends of the house, and we both at the exact same time heard a child in our house who was crying, and it instantly hit me like a ton of bricks. I bawled my eyes out. I was like, this child, and he said the exact same thing. He was like, where is this kid? It started to hit a little bit too close to home at this point. So we had another person come into the house to sort of have a look at it and a feel, and they had confirmed pretty much the same things that the prior person had, and had said that there was a little girl who had been in the house before. Something had happened. They never really delved into what, but this child was not happy in this house, so she was kind of playing tricks. We had like a ritual where this person put down a ring of candles where they had said that there was some form of like gateway between spirits and energies and whatnot. Those candles continued to blow out, so it was very odd. We had to sort of sit next to these candles, and a few of them would go out. There was no wind, it's inside, the windows are shut, there is nothing. A candle would go out. It was very odd. It was completely fine until we sort of did this moment. That was really confronting to me. I really struggled with that. I cried. It was intense. It was really hard. We had to put rock throughout our house, these like earthy rocks that we were given, and put like rings of salt around our drain pipe in our bathtub because our bathroom had a ton of energy. Our bathroom continues to be a problem, and we continue to have sort of shadows in there, and just things happen in that bathroom, which is kind of odd. We found on the shower glass there are like numbers and words and whatnot written on there, which is really strange. The same goes for our bathroom door. So it's been painted. It's a completely different color to the rest of the doors in the house. The bathroom door is like a different color, and there are words like all over that bathroom door. You can see it if you sort of steam the bathroom up. You can see all the writing, and you can see the writing on the glass as well. None of it makes sense. It's just random words. It's nothing sinister. It's just random things or random numbers. There's a lot of numbers. So we reached out to our neighbors, and it sounds crazy to say to somebody, oh, I'm getting a medium to come into my house because it's haunted. It's very hard to explain. So it was really hard for us to sort of tell our neighbors of our concerns because we'd only just sort of moved in. We didn't want them to think that we were kook, but at the same time they had lived in their house for a really long time, and we just wanted to get their opinion and really their insight on the house and what was sort of going on with us, and whether or not they knew anything that they sort of hadn't told us before. I'm just going in with some dark contour now. So they confirmed pretty much everything, that there were some rough groups that had lived in the house before us, but they did divulge that there was a woman who had come to the house just before we had moved in and was trying to get in, and sort of confronted them to say, you know, can they access the house, or they wanted to have a look at the house. They didn't want to rent it. They just wanted to basically see the house because something happened to her daughter here, and she wanted to see the house. So I was kind of like, thanks for that. Thanks for not telling us when we initially asked months ago. So yeah, we have never found the real story on what did happen here. We have asked the real estate since, you know, what has happened in the house, what is sort of going on in the house. And the real estate's answer was that they did not have to disclose the information to us, that we are not privileged to know what happened. We didn't buy the house, but they didn't have to tell us what was going on in the house. So that was kind of to me, that was like okay, you know something has happened here. Thanks for telling us. Thanks for hiding it. And they may not know too. A lot of people may not know what really happened in this house. So I'm just going in now with the e.l.f. Sheer Tint Finishing Powder in the color Fair Light. And I'm just going to go over, I'm going over anywhere I've concealed or had foundation. So yeah, so we had a few spooky experiences. I can tell you guys, I literally have rocks all over my house. Like the weirdest placements of rocks, but I'm like, don't touch them. They're there for a reason, leave them. So we have things around the house to sort of keep it at bay. I'm just going in now with the same product, but in the color light medium. And I'm going over the darker contour places. So yeah, we definitely can keep it at bay now, but there are certain things that happen and we're kind of like, the house is alive again. The house is speaking to us. We talk about it too much. Like I probably shouldn't have filmed this video in the house. Things happen if we start to think about it or like watch certain movies or sort of just like welcome that energy back. It most certainly heightens, and we definitely feel it when that happens. Like, let me tell you, we know when it's like coming back. Things will start to move again. We start to see our friends again. We haven't heard the child cry again. We've only heard that once, but I can tell you that is the most intense feeling, to have a child straight up cry in your house that you cannot see, touch, nothing, but they are right there and just cry. That is so intense. So one of the things that was explained to us was that the reason why we were getting so drunk in the house, or like if we had a glass we would just be like out of it or couldn't remember, was because some of the groups that lived here before, we had drug and alcohol abuse problem. There was a few things that had happened here and the house sort of manifested on that, so that kind of made it more intoxicating and you just sort of felt it at a much harder degree. So that was kind of crazy, and I kind of feel crazy telling this, and like it's hard because I can't remember every single event that happened because it happened over such a long period of time. I also don't want this video to be hours and hours long. I just wanted to give you guys like a quick overview story time and just a little insight to my haunted house. Do I still live at the house? Yes, we have a lease here and we are staying here until we can leave. We've got things kind of at bay at the moment, so we're not leaving just yet, but most certainly I'm not buying this house. I'm not interested. It's, yeah, not for me. No, my house did not just attack me for telling this story. I ran out of battery on my camera, so I took the time while it charged just to plait my hair and straighten it. I will show you how this turns out. These are the cutest curls and you will thank me for this later. And I just popped some lashes on in the interest of time. I'm just going in with the MAC eyeliner pencil, and I cannot tell you the color because obviously I've used it a lot and it has faded, but it is just the MAC eyeliner, and I'm just lining the top waterline. So one of the things that I was thinking about while I was getting ready, and I can't believe I've missed this out so far in this story, that our house has flooded 3 times. And just going in with a brown eyeliner pencil, and this is the Morphe Coffee and Kissy eyeliner pencil, and I'm just doing my lower waterline. So the first flood was, and if you guys know anything about like superstitious and haunted houses and stuff, they say that flooding is like a cleansing or like a warning. It's like it's a message basically. And the first time that it happened, we were too new in the house to even think anything of it. We were too, are we experiencing something? Is it stress from the move? We weren't sure. So the first one was a water main out the front of our house and it flooded, but it just missed the house and it actually went down the side of the house. So when that happened, that was kind of a odd warning looking back in hindsight. And just going in with some mascara now. The second one was just after we had the blessing of the house. So that one was probably the most intense flood too. It was on a day when I was by myself. My husband was at work and the hot water system literally burst. It made an explosion sound. It was madness. So it flood downstairs where I was telling you the garage and the laundry are, so it flooded that area. It was like thick water. We got a lot of damage from that. So we managed to get that under control, and we sort of were like, okay, we get it, not great. Like, although yes, it's an old house, but it was kind of a bit something. KKW Beauty lip liner in Honey 2. And guys, if you haven't tried the Honey collection of KKW, do yourself a favor. This nude I get so many compliments on. And I have the matching KKW Honey 2 lipstick, but I'm going to ruin it all with a gloss, with the Kylie Cosmetics lip gloss in the color Bad Kitty. The third flood that we had was a really bad one, and again it was a water main smack bang at the front of the house, and this was at 5 o'clock in the morning. This is only a couple of months after. So this was the main water main, and it flooded from the front of our house literally all through the entire bottom of our house, and was a running river, and it went for like, I think it was going since like 4:30 until about 10:30. The amount of water and water damage we copped from that was intense. We had the council, just quietly, how are these waves? So easy, you guys. A plait and a straightener. So we had the council come in, and they just stopped the water. They cleaned up some of the dirt, but of course they couldn't get everything. Our backyard was trashed from the mud. The downstairs part of our house, the garage, like I said to you guys, where all of these things were performed, it was absolutely trashed. So that's probably something that I should have mentioned earlier, that was another little warning sign. It was just a little warning, back off from the house, but I think we are at peace now. My husband and I did decide that we were going to watch The Conjuring out of the house last night. That did not work out for us. There was everything in the universe said that we shouldn't go. The traffic, we couldn't get a park, the line was out the door, we would have had to wait 40 minutes, miss half the movie. I was kind of like, maybe we shouldn't mess with this stuff anymore. Maybe we shouldn't watch this kind of stuff, or maybe this is our house telling us not to watch this. So we definitely are, our eyes are open now. We truly believe in this type of thing. It's not something I would ever mess with. It's just not worth it once you've lived it. I am at peace in my house with it, but I'm not going to stay here for a long time. But anyway, that is my story time. Get ready with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys want another story of crazy things that happen in my life, I told you guys this happens to me all the time. I'm happy to do more story time get ready with me's, but I hope you enjoyed this and enjoyed this look and this hair, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video.